Welcome back to ParaGhoul Paranormal Discoveries from the Dark, the radio show where we dive into the shadows of Saskatchewan and sometimes Western Canada to see what lies within. I'm your host, K.D. Kulpa, and I'm a horror author and paranormal researcher in Regina. As promised last week, Melanie Cole is back tonight to help us finish unraveling the clues behind the Saskatchewan axe murder mystery. So grab your blankets and bundle up as we revisit this chilling mystery. All right, so back to talking about the axe murder in Saskatoon. And if you were listening last week, we were just finished talking about some suspicious activities that were going on through the day that supposedly didn't happen, but supposedly did. So
Mhm.
yeah, Melanie, do you want to keep going? I
All
can't wait to
right.
find out more.
Yeah. So just to refresh everyone's memory, Christmas night, Laura Johnson wakes up in her living room, bound hand and foot. Her husband has 8 axe wounds to his face in the bedroom. The cops think she did it. She has no memory of anything. And we have some very mysterious clues. So if you didn't listen to episode 1, go back and listen
Yes,
because
exactly.
there's a lot of strange clues we're going to talk about. So speaking of strange clues, we talked about Victor Hayes, a friend of Johnson's, who said that James was afraid to continue living at his house. That's where we ended.
Yes.
Now, at some point in January of 1926, when all of this is going on and everyone's suspicious and Laura's been arrested and everything is crazy, a series of letters were sent to the newspapers, the police, and to Laura Johnson's defense attorney, Arthur E. Bentz. The
Ooh,
letters discussed the murders of James Eli Johnson and were intriguing enough that her attorney actually put out ads offering a reward for any information on the writer of the letters.
interesting.
Yeah. The only newspaper that printed their copies of the letter was the Saskatoon Reporter, which is not available on my news archive site that I use. Could not find any archive that carried it.
Darn.
So I don't know what the letters said, which it deeply upsets me.
Yeah.
The only clue I was able to find as to their contents was when Arthur Bentz asked a witness on the stand to write out 2 sentences to see if their handwriting matched the letters. The phrases were, "The bottles are popping," and "the wife's away."
Oh,
Yeah, right?
interesting.
I want that letter so bad. I
No
can't even begin to
doubt.
describe how much I want this letter. So this went to newspapers, it went to her defense attorney, and it went to the police. And as far as we know, no one was found connected to these letters. No one came forward. The writer was never identified. And due to a lack of access, I don't know what the letter said. So that's deeply frustrating.
No doubt.
So on September 16th, so they committed her to stand trial. She did her preliminary hearing, they committed her to stand trial. But on September 16th, 1926, a stay of proceedings was entered in the murder charge against her. So she was allowed to go free without bail, but the murder charge remained. They could still take her to trial at any time, but they wanted to stay because they felt the Crown at any time they could call her to stand trial, but in they wanted to investigate further.
Right.
They're right? We don't have a smoking gun. We don't have the murder weapon. We don't have
Well, yeah.
motive really, aside from insurance money that she apparently didn't need.
Yeah.
Um, so they wanted to do some more investigating. She was actually never brought to stand trial. She moved to British Columbia, and she did eventually receive the money from her husband's life insurance,
Okay. Even though she didn't need it,
even though
supposedly.
she didn't need it.
Yeah.
There was no other charges ever laid on anyone else. And they did still bring it up in like at the I think it was the 10-year anniversary, they put in the newspaper again, asking if anyone had any information and come forward. But as far as we know, it's never been solved. So
Oh,
we don't know. I have theories, of course. I read a lot of newspaper clippings, and a lot of them included a lot of transcripts of the court proceedings,
Oh, well, that's handy at least.
which is very handy. Yeah. And I go back and forth on whether or not she did it. Most of the time, I don't think she did. I don't think it adds up. I the thing is they checked the furnace when they investigated the house after immediately after they checked the whole house. They looked in the furnace. Nothing was had been burnt. There was no fresh ashes. Like in the again in the amount of time it would have happened.
Yeah, it'd have to be pretty
Could
fresh if
anything
there
have
was.
burnt completely,
Yeah.
including an axe? Like they never find the axe, which how did she get rid of it? That they
Yeah.
could never find it. How did she have no blood in her hair? Like again, unless like she covered the whole thing and then did this murder. But then where's the axe? Where's all the bloody clothes? She would have had to
Oh,
burn them.
yeah.
She would have been covered. It was over
She
the
would have been.
walls. It was on the nightstand. It was puddled
Yeah.
everywhere. It had sprayed because like these are full axe strikes. It would have been all over her, which she could have changed. But where's the
But where did it
clothes
go?
go?
Yeah. Well,
You
and
know,
because it was so tight and like you said, it's so tight in time.
the timeline
So
is so small.
she couldn't have really had a shower, got changed, gone out, left the house, dropped some stuff off, come like it would have been way too tight to do all of that.
No, I don't like unless she had a good solid plan on where she was going to ditch these clothes. Like even with the Lizzie Borden case, they found the bucket of the bloody rags that she said were from her peer. Like there's
Yeah.
still like
There's
you
still
can point to like
pieces.
maybe that's where she cleaned up.
Yeah.
Like that's why so many people like have a hard time and like she's innocent. I don't know. I go back and forth on that case too.
Yeah, it's a
But
hard one too.
with Laura Johnson, like where did they go?
Yeah.
And then
That is
there's the idea with the dog. The dog never barked.
so yeah, you
Did
make
the
it
dog knows who's coming to the house? But it didn't bark for the police either.
yeah.
And where is his mail service keys?
Yeah. And why would she say that he didn't leave the house when he did?
Unless he went out while she
While
was
she's with her
visiting her
sister.
sister. And she
Yeah.
thinks that she was only gone an hour. But I mean, again, do we keep good track of how much time we spent? And
Yeah.
like you're not keeping a record of everything you did today, thinking, oh, well, something horrible is going to happen tonight, so I need to make sure I remember everything and keep a
Yeah.
log of time. Like no one remembers. You just know you went and visited your sister, and you're like, yeah, it's probably about an hour. I don't know. So
Yeah.
did he go out then, and that's why she didn't really know he had gone out? And who were those two men? And why did he not seem to want to be with them?
Be with him and introduce him. Yeah. Oh my
And why
goodness.
was he afraid of living at his house?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. There's
So,
so many little like
exactly, exactly. And I mean, the thing about the narcotics that they tested him for narcotics and there was none, but he had to have fallen asleep so quickly and be so deeply asleep to have no
to
defensive wounds at all. He
yeah,
had nothing on his arms, nothing on his hands. All of the wounds were in his
in
head and
his
his
head.
face. So again, if it had been her, either way, he didn't wake up when she got out of bed.
Well, yeah. And
So
she
did
would have
she
had to been taken out of bed before he got
axe? Because again, no blood.
no blood on her.
So I always wonder if she had woken up like a half hour or 45 minutes later and just needed to pee and like shimmied out of bed and he just was dead asleep and she goes to the bathroom and as she's coming out, right in the right side of the head and down she
Maybe.
goes.
And that's why
If
she
there
doesn't
were two of
remember.
them, like they said,
Yeah.
where was it those two men he didn't really want to spend time with? Were they looking for something? Were they leaning
Yeah.
on him for something? I don't know.
Oh, now I really want to know what that letter said.
I know,
Just like, what could it be?
right? Okay, if any of your listeners have old copies of that
Yeah.
newspaper, this
Send
was
it
it the
to us.
Saskatoon Reporter? Yeah, the Saskatoon Reporter.
Yeah.
It's January of 1926. So if any of your listeners have listeners, maybe to look up for the letter. But yeah, and then I will say the home no longer exists. It's a parking lot now. I did look it up because, of course, I wanted to see this bungalow. I did find pictures of the house and both of them. So on my website, when I wrote about it, there are pictures there if you want to have a
Oh,
look.
that's cool. Yeah, I'll make sure to put a link in the description of the podcast
Yeah.
anyway, so people can find it.
Yeah. And what I really wish though is if they had had a picture of the bedroom because I want
Yeah.
that's the other thing because I'm like with the wounds being on the left side of his face, were they standing at the foot of the bed or were they standing on the right side of the bed and his
Oh,
head was turned?
was
Because
turned.
if it was that vertical line, you almost wonder if it was from the foot or something, but it was jammed up against the wall. I want to see that
Yeah.
bedroom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so many things don't line up, do they?
They don't line up. It's so mysterious.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, wow.
I know. So to me, there's a lot of leads that should have been investigated further, and maybe they were, and they were just dead ends,
Just
and they
at
just
dead
didn't
ends.
get written about.
Yeah, possible. But yeah, because
But
you
I feel
wonder,
like,
I'm
yeah,
really curious what they did with what they read in the letter.
hmm yeah,
Because even the two little like phrases are like, well, what is it, bottles popping or
the
whatever.
bottles are popping, and the wife's away.
Yeah. Which does kind of make you think it's the two guys because he went for that drink with the two guys.
Oh yeah, yeah. Or like, is it
Or did
someone who
someone,
was suggesting he was cheating,
yeah,
or like, oh, and your wife's away. I know what you did. I don't know.
yeah. Well, yeah, because it seems like somebody went to his house
You're right.
if the wife's away.
The wife's away. Exactly.
But still, the murder didn't happen while the wife was away. She was there
She
somehow.
was there. And the thing was, if I remember correctly, he wasn't supposed to be home on Christmas Day. He was supposed to
Oh.
be away working, and then the schedule changed last minute. Like she was gonna go to a friend's farm for Christmas, and then his schedule changed last minute, and so she stayed in the city so they could spend Christmas
Oh.
together. So that's the other thing is
Even more questions now.
who knew his
Who knew his
schedule? Who knew that his
schedule?
schedule changed? Or were they planning to break into the house while they were both gone?
Oh, and
But
found them.
then why bring an axe?
Well, yeah, and why like murder him instead of just knocking him out?
Yeah,
But then the dog doesn't bark either. So,
no.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, and like, was it all about the railway service keys? What were they trying
Yeah,
to
well,
get? Because no one ever found the keys. And if they needed those keys to find something, did they needed him silenced so he couldn't say what was missing?
oh, I never thought of that angle. That's a good angle too.
I've thought a lot about this murder.
My goodness, there are so many like, yeah, so many questions, so many angles, so many
Yeah.
weird aspects to it.
Yeah,
Wow.
so I'm hoping your listeners have their own theories they can share with us, or if they have insights or what, because I turn it over my head often where especially the timeline is
Well,
so
yeah, it's so
short.
short.
And so it really makes me lean towards her not being guilty. But I have had people who read it were like, nah, she's obviously guilty. And I was like, really? It's obvious to you? No, it is
Yeah.
not to me. It is not obvious to me. So be interesting to see what other people think about is she like that? These are the questions I want your listeners to answer. Did she do it or was it someone else? And if it was someone else, who and why? Like who do they
Well,
think and
yeah.
why? And if you think it's the wife, then I need you to defend your case.
Yeah, need a
I need
motive.
you to prosecute this case for me. I need you to convince me so I can put it to bed.
Well, and that's the funny thing is it's such a mysterious case
Yeah,
that happened in Saskatoon of all places.
in Saskatoon.
And yet no one talks. I've never heard of this
Nothing.
before,
No,
which just,
I like stumbled upon it by accident and was like, holy hell, what happened? When?
yeah, that's
And
just,
especially for it to be on a Christmas night when people kind of feel the most safe and like it's supposed to be this festive season and
yep.
for this brutal axe murder to happen and then to never be solved.
Yeah, I'm amazed no one's ever said anything about it or like written a book about it or like just
Yeah,
nothing. Just
just
nothing.
nothing. I mean, it's possible. There was a series of books by a journalist in Regina, and she wrote a lot about historical true crime. So it's possible that that was one of the because I can't remember what it was called. There was three, I think, three books, and they each had probably about like 40 cases in them. Like they were short, like run-ups on all these
Oh,
murder
okay.
cases and stuff that happened in Saskatchewan. So I'm sure that she wrote something about it in there. I would be surprised if she hadn't, but I've never read them, so
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
should.
I'll have to look
You could
that
think
up.
of me of all people would have read them, but I only just found out about them not that long ago. So, but I was like, oh yeah, but yeah, it was three, and she three books, and I can't. Oh, I feel bad. I can't remember the title of the first or any of them. There's something. I want to say there's something about spilled milk or something, but I can't remember.
Ooh, I'll have to look it up and find out. Yeah.
Yeah, if I remember, I'll send you the title
Okay,
so you
yeah,
can put it in the show notes for people because the top of
definitely.
my head I cannot remember. But
I'd
yeah,
love to see what her take, if she did do a write up on it. I'd love to see what her take was.
yeah. What was her takeaway
Yeah,
exactly?
because like
Who was guilty?
there's so many questions, and I just
Hmm.
ah, so I
Yeah.
can totally see why this keeps you like
Hmm.
coming back to it. Because yeah, it just
Yeah. Because I'm not someone who tends to think that, oh, she couldn't have done it because women don't have the physical strength.
yeah,
Any woman could have
yeah.
axe murdered.
Oh,
That's
definitely.
to me, I'm like, yeah, that's no problem.
Especially
But
angry enough. Oh yeah, I think so.
right?
Yeah, enough
Yeah,
anger behind it. I
absolutely.
think you can.
There is a case that I haven't covered yet, but I'm researching where the same kind of thing where a guy in his bed was brutally beaten and I think it was even like kind of an axe situation as well, but also had like arsenic thrown on his face, and
Oh,
it was his wife.
oof.
Yeah,
So she was
she was
really
mad.
making sure.
She was really mad.
Yeah.
But so I'm not timid to say that she couldn't have,
Yeah.
but to me the evidence just doesn't
Something else. Yeah.
definitely not conclusively. I think that's why it never went to trial. Is like you said, there's too many questions.
Yeah.
You can't beyond a reasonable doubt find her guilty of murder. The biggest mark against her was that she was in the house.
Yeah. That's really all there
She was in the
is.
house and she's fine. Those are
Yeah.
like the two big points against her.
Yeah.
She's in
No
the house, she's
major.
fine, and doesn't remember, which, if you don't know anything about trauma, is suspicious.
Yeah.
But if someone is got, PTSD or you're going to trauma response, it's really common for your brain to just shut it down
Shut
and
it
not like
down. Yeah.
remember,
I not remember
which
those
would make
things.
sense why she doesn't remember waking up. She can only remember like trying on her knees, trying to get up
Yeah.
as she fell off the sofa. So to me, that's kind of that seems
Yeah.
indicative of more of trauma than of lying. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, why wouldn't she just say, "I woke up on the floor or on the couch
Well,
and then
yeah.
I fell on
Instead
it,"
of trying to wake up and trying. Yeah.
Yeah. To be
Yeah.
honestly, the fact that she was so wishy-washy on how she woke up to me is more indicative of trauma than it is of lying. Because I feel like if you're trying to lie, murder your husband, you're covering it up, you're going to have very decisive lies.
Yeah.
You're gonna be like, I woke up on the couch and I was bound hand and foot, and
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. Like
Yeah. You'd
she
be
was like,
more
I don't
clear.
know, I don't remember how I woke
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Well,
So,
and she
but
did
again,
have the injury to her head, which would kind of.
yeah.
And where did the bruises on the back come from, too?
Did she fall and
Yeah.
hit her? Like, how did they just thump her along? Who knows?
Yeah.
And there is the thing about the police saying that the reef knots were really easy to get out of. So, I mean,
Yeah.
there is that suspicious element as well. So, if it was a knot that was really easy to wriggle back into, so she could pretend,
Yeah,
maybe
that's true.
I could see that. But but the missing murder weapon,
Yeah, but
missing
if you wake
bloody
up and you're
clothes,
really out of it and you don't know what's going on, you
would
probably the
you?
first thing wouldn't be, can I get out of it? It would just be, oh crap, and it's
I'm
behind your
bound.
back. Yeah.
Right, because they were behind her back. That's right. And she
Yeah.
was
So she
tied in the
can't see it.
ankles too. So she can't get the ankles off until she gets the one behind her back off.
Yeah.
And again, you'd almost have to try it
Oh.
for yourself just to
Yeah, right.
just to
just
see
to see.
how easy it would be to get it off.
And I mean the rotary phone with a toothbrush, that's commitment too to
That's
trying to get, and
commitment.
that would have taken time,
Yeah.
which if she was the murderer, she wouldn't have had.
But that's her story according to her. We don't
Yeah,
have any
that's
reports
true.
that they found the toothbrush next to the phone or
Oh,
anything
that's
like that, right?
true. That's
We just
true.
so we don't have confirmation that that's what she did. We just have her word that that's what she did. So
Oh,
we
so many
don't
things.
know for sure. And even the timeline is so wishy-washy. It's all
Yeah.
estimates and like with the doctor's estimate on when the injuries happened, it's kind of like maybe he only took 10 minutes to get there. I don't know, but
Oh,
and
interesting.
maybe 10 minutes feels like an eternity when you've got a man with blood all over him.
That's true. That's very true.
So we don't know. But that is the story of the bungalow axe murder of Saskatoon. Very much unsolved,
Well,
especially by me.
yeah. Well, now I'm not surprised that it's not solved if that's all they had. Surely they
Yeah,
had to have a little bit more that we just don't know, but still, it's
yeah. I
like the
would
letter.
I would love to reach out to the provincial archives and see if I could get the police reports and that because they often had to send reports of ongoing cases to like the attorney general just to like let them know how their investigations were
Oh,
going.
right. Yep.
But it takes a long time,
It
like
does.
six
Yeah.
months, 7 months to because they're very busy. They're amazing, but they're very busy.
Yeah.
Because I would love to see that and see what other things they were investigating and how far they went. Like for me, the tuxedo block apartments where the witness couldn't remember which apartment it was.
That's
Go to every
weird.
apartment. Go to
Yeah.
every apartment
Yeah.
and take them with you if you want. Be like, are these them? Are these them? Are these them?
Well,
And
yeah. I'm surprised they didn't do that. Like go driving to the
and maybe
apartments
they
and
did, right? But
maybe
according to the newspapers,
they
they had
didn't
taken
know.
him to the tuxedo block to be like, "Hey, which apartment?" And he was like, "I don't know." And then that was the end of it.
Hmm.
And would they still
Interesting.
even be there if they were people like,
Yeah.
or would they have left? So,
Yeah. Would they be like a
because I'm sure they
temporary
knocked on
thing?
a few doors and like if he was like, I think it was on the second floor, you would knock on a couple,
Yeah.
but it seemed to be really inconclusive that they were not able to find these two men at all. So,
Oh, interesting.
yeah. Because normally I'd be like, well, we can't really count on witness testimony
No,
anyway
not
because
at
members
all.
are garbage. But
Yep.
if
In this case, it's even
having
less.
a drink with a couple men, like that, I would be like, okay, so I think that generally happened. He probably had a drink with him and these two men.
Yeah.
Did it happen on Christmas Day? Was he misremembering and it was the day before and it was Christmas
Oh,
Eve?
maybe.
You know?
Hard to say.
Yeah, I try not to put a ton of stock into any kind of witness statements because they are very fallible. But at the same time, this would have been news right away. So he would have been like, oh, I saw him yesterday, you know?
Yeah.
So I would think
Oh.
that that was probably accurate, but we can't say for sure.
Well, it makes you wonder, like maybe the wife was involved, but not
Yeah.
the main person.
Yeah. Did she organize the murder? And
Yeah.
that's why she was unharmed in the living room? And did she let them in?
Yeah. And
Did she
that's
go to
why.
the back door and unlock it and let them in? And then the one guy tied her up while the other one did that. And they're like, cool, all right.
Yeah.
And
See
then
you
they
later,
let
kind of thing.
themselves back out.
Yeah.
I was telling my husband about it, and he's like, well, someone must have broken in during the day and poisoned their food, and that's why they fell asleep so quickly. And I was like, I think so. It's getting a little conspiracy
Yeah.
theories at that point, but I want maybe someone broke in
Maybe.
earlier, who knows, and put something in their food. But again, he was tested for narcotics.
Well, yeah, and it came out clean. So unless it's something
Mm-hmm.
that they didn't know about or didn't test
Mm-hmm.
for back then. But
Mm-hmm. Now
oh
she
my
did say he
goodness.
had a couple beers through the day, and so I don't know if that would show up in the narcotic testing, if they
Yeah.
wouldn't have tested for that, if they would have known to test for that, or if he just had and just enough that it was under the
There
radar.
were, yeah.
But the fact
Oh,
that he had worked all night and then been up all day, it does make sense to me that he would have fallen
passed out
asleep
pretty
and
quick. Yep.
actually been asleep. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that does make sense. So obviously one of the blows to the head was good enough to
That it
not
was
make
lights out
him,
at that
yeah,
moment. Yeah.
that he didn't
Yeah.
come to.
Because three of them were, no, sorry, five were major blows to the head and three were minor.
Ooh, that's
So,
a lot of blows to the head too for a guy that's not moving.
right? That's the other thing. It seems like a highly emotional
Yeah.
attack to hit him that many times, unless they were just gonna be absolutely sure. It's dark, he can't see if your blows are hitting. I don't know.
Or surprise they were surprised he was there.
But again, where'd the axe
But
come from?
that's true. Why would you bring an axe?
It shows planning.
Yeah. Oh, so many questions. Oh my goodness. We can just take ourselves in circles the more we talk
Yeah,
about it.
that's right. And that's the hard part about looking into historical cases is there's
Yeah.
literally no hope for resolution.
Yeah.
You kind of
Well,
just pick a theory that you like and stick with it.
and go with it.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully a listener will bring us the letter at least, and we'll have that.
Oh, that would be
That would be nice.
amazing. Oh my God. That's
Just
a
to get
that's a piece of
something.
the puzzle I would like. Yeah.
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 Oh,
I'm wondering if I have more time, maybe I'll reach out to the archives and see if I can get some more
yeah.
information from the police reports. But until that day comes, where we're at.
Well, no, this is awesome. I like my mind is just spinning like what could have
Yeah.
happened? But yeah, no, this is
Yeah.
great. So I greatly appreciate you coming back and doing
Oh,
another
absolutely. Thank you for having
two-parter.
me back. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know, I can't shut up. Get me started talking about murders, and I will go into a lot
Oh,
of detail.
it's so funny because every time I do like have a guest on, it's just like we start talking and then suddenly it's like, oh my goodness, 26 minutes has gone by. We gotta stop. Like we can't keep
Yeah,
going. Yeah,
right? How are you supposed
it's
to tell
hard.
a spooky story in a half an hour?
I know, it's not very long, eh? Oh.
Mm-mm.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Don't forget, if you'd like to support the show, you can find me on most social media platforms under KDKULPA. I also have a Patreon for those that want behind-the-scenes information, extra content, and a chance to join a live Q&A with me each month. I hope you enjoyed the two-parter Halloween special of ParaGhoul Paranormal. Next week, we will be going back into our search for ghosts in Saskatchewan. This time, we will be visiting Moose Jaw to learn about one of their famous ghosts that you can have lunch with. So stay tuned for our upcoming episodes where we'll uncover more secrets, unravel more mysteries, and delve deeper into the shadows. Until then, remember to keep your flashlight handy and digital recorders ready. This is Katie Kulpa, signing off. Until next time, my ghouls.